Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Urban League of Portland's 2023 annual member meeting from your favorite social media platform. Since we are streaming on IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, please share this video link with friends and family so they can tune in too. My name is State Representative Travis Nelson, and I'm honored to host this virtual event. Today, you'll hear from Urban League of Portland board members, employees, and program participants regarding the League's impact for the last year. But first, let's start with an official welcome from our board chair, Dr. James Mason.
Good day, everyone. My name is James Mason. I'm the board chair of the Portland Urban League, and I have the honor of being with you today for this event. This event is very, very important to us, and it's an opportunity for us to talk about our accomplishments and encourage your support. Just want to give a little background. The Portland Urban League has been around since 1945, and one of the things that's made me very proud to be associated is that typically urban leagues are political entities. We just happen to be one that provides a lot of service and a lot of care to our community, which kind of distinguishes us in the urban league community. We should all take great pride in that. An example, at least for me in the most recent memory, is the opening of the Hattie Redmond, one of our housing projects. Got to go to the event and was absolutely amazed with the staff, the leadership, the community support, and in fact is some of the residents of the Hattie Redmond that you might hear from as we go forward. Would encourage you to look forward to the rest of the program. I think it's going to be great. Want to wish you a great evening. Thank you for listening. Look forward to seeing you in the community. Hoping you find ways to support the Urban League of Portland and fall in love like I did. Thank you very much.
My name is Sharice Norwood, and I prefer to be called Shar. I'm originally from Inglewood, California, born and raised. Yeah, I am a proud resident of Hattie Redmond, and I was one of the first persons to move in on March 1st, the first day that it opened. And I'm just so happy to be a part of New Beginning. That I read up about Hattie Redmond, first of all. She reminds me of Harriet Tubman. She reminds me of me, an advocate, a pioneer. I've never lived in an apartment where you have a community, where you have people that talk to each other. We're like family already, but I need peer support. There's a peer support here. What's needed is more communities like this. What you have provided here, Urban League and Home Forward, it's incredible. To be a part of this is a privilege and an honor. Gratitude is most important, but to end this housing epidemic or help with it as much as possible, pulling people off the streets, let's appreciate our community. Let's do this together, because one person can't do it. We all got it. That's why it's community, unity. Your work, your effort, it does pay off. But look what you've done. Look at this. Look at this smile on my face. I'm appreciative. You guys keep doing what you're doing, because it is making a difference. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Rogers, and I'm honored to serve as the Director of Finance and Administration for the Urban League of Portland. As the Director of Finance Administration, at this time I'd like to report on last year's financials. To start off, we had total income for the year of $12.739 million, followed by total expenses for the year of $11.543 million. Which led to net income of about $2.394 million for the year. Our current total assets are about $4.991 million, and we were able to provide about $2.394 million in eviction prevention and other assistance for rent. I think that's been a pretty good year for us.
Thank you, Kevin. Next, you will hear from board member Kelly Sue DeConnick.
My name is Kelly Sue DeConnick. I am a board member here at the Urban League since I believe 2017. I am a writer. I write comic books and television and stage. I work on feature films. I'm probably best known for my work with Marvel Comics on the character of Carol Danvers and the Captain Marvel film. Artists are the ones who ask the hard questions. Artists are the ones, we don't have the answers. If we had the answers, we'd go into other fields. If we had the answers, we'd go into policy. We don't. We have the questions. And as we put those questions into the world in our work, what we do is we enable people to connect to themselves and to one another. And it's wildly important that we have people from every disparate community equally participating in our art so that we can connect with one another. So I'll take a moment here. I've gone on far too long already, but that is my way. I'm sorry. But I will take a moment and address specifically our white viewers to say that you may be thinking that you don't have a place in the Urban League, that you can't join the Urban League or aren't wanted in the Urban League. And I'm here to tell you that you are, in fact, very welcome in the Urban League. If you made donations during George Floyd or the height of the BLM movement, that's lovely. That money was important, but it's not enough. I also don't want you to have the experience of only engaging with Black trauma. I would like you to see Black joy. I would like you to see resilience. I would like you to have the experience of understanding that we all have more in common than we have that separates us. We have to see each other as brothers and sisters. It's vitally important if we are to heal this world. All right. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my friend, Nkinge Harmon Johnson. Nkinge is the president and CEO of the Urban League of Portland. I have watched over, it's 2023 now, and I joined sometime 2016, 2017, over these many years, as Nkinge has taken our board meetings from places where there was a lot of no, we can't, to how can we do more, to yes, to thank you for your opinion, you will not stand in our way. She is powerful, she is inspiring, she has my sword. She also has a law degree from Howard and a long history of incredible work. And she's young. She has so much more to do. So I'm gonna let her tell you about this past year with the Urban League of Portland and everything that she has led us to in the last few years, but you really need to hear it from her. So, Nkinge!
Kelly Sue DeConnick, thank you so much for your kind words. I had no idea that you would be quite so verbose about your experience, but also about the growth and the history that we have shared together at this Urban League. With that, I want to welcome all of you to the Urban League of Portland's annual meeting, recapping 2022, for all of our members, our friends, our partners. And if you don't count yourself in that number, you are now because you're watching with us here today. Thank you. When I took on this leadership role, I realized something. There are some organizations that are funded in very robust ways by foundations and partners. And now they might argue differently, but standing in my seat here from North Portland, I can tell you that museums and hospitals, they're not-for-profit organizations. Universities, they're not-for-profit organizations. So why, when I walk into a hospital, do I see a beautiful atrium with original art and flowers and, This is a lovely space, as it should be for the people who need to receive care here and the people who work here every day doing very difficult jobs. I go into a museum and they're gorgeous. There's not only the galleries, but there are indoor and outdoor spaces that are frankly beautiful. The office spaces where folks work are also really quite lovely. I thought to myself, what makes these not-for-profits different than the Urban League of Portland? All of our furniture is borrowed or picked out of the trash from other corporations, quite frankly. All of our computers were hand-me-downs of hand-me-downs. When I started the Urban League 8 years ago now, My desk was built for a man who was 6'4". I used to sit on a booster seat in my chair because I couldn't reach my computer without it. And it didn't make sense for us to spend real hard money that we could use to serve people on furniture. And our funders didn't want to include in our budgets the kind of resources we needed to buy the proper office equipment. But then I would look at the hospitals and say, well, they've got desks and their president probably doesn't have to sit on a booster seat to be able to reach their decade-old computer. What makes them different than us? Why are their spaces more beautiful and more comfortable than ours? And then I thought about our staff, our program participants. The people we serve deserve to be in a beautiful space while they receive these services as well. The people who are our program participants often are coming from traumatic backgrounds or traumatic experiences. They too deserve trauma-informed atmosphere and care and approaches to what we do. Much of that can start with art, but it goes further, as Kelly Sue mentioned, workforce. More folks who look like me should be involved in the arts as a career. We know that we've got lots of folks who are artists, and often it's a side hustle. And that's true of all artists, certainly. But I grew up in a community where James DePriest was the head of our orchestra. I grew up in a community where the Interstate Firehouse Cultural Center was operated by a Black woman. I won't give you the whole list of the Black folks who were calling shots in arts and culture around the community when I was a kid in Portland and in Salem, but it feels to me like then there were more than there are now. Having Kelly Sue and Dr. Corey Frazier on our board is the reason the Urban League was able to start our comic book camp for kiddos. And we had done it before the pandemic, and it was an experiment, it was new, and it was different, and it was tough, and it was worth it. Well, last year we weren't able to do comic book camp. And we're talking about 2022, so I want to mention that to all of you, the difficulty that posed for us, not just because of COVID, but also because of the isolation that our kids were experiencing, not being in school and not having their regular camps and their regular activities. It was just one more sort of tough time that we weren't able to fix because of the global health issue that we were all living through. But I thought about it then. And I'm happy to say that next year, when you join us for our annual meeting, you'll get to hear about this year's comic book camp and the strong return we were able to make to provide that service for our kiddos. Beyond that, of course, at the Hattie Redmond that you heard about, there is original art on the walls of the Hattie, from the first floor to the top floor throughout the building, that was created by local, mostly African-American artists. It's a way that we can support artists, but it's also a way that we can provide the kind of environments for our program participants that I mentioned a little bit earlier that they deserve, and that makes sense. And funny enough, don't cost a ton more to do. It just is a matter of having the will, making the right decisions, knowing the right folks, asking the right questions, and being serious about bringing arts and culture and that flavor into our spaces. I won't take you through the whole list of ways that we do that, but as a community, we tend to be musical. We tend to care a lot about our food. We tend to care a lot about color and flair and space. And all of those things are important to the Urban League, and the way that we've integrated them to our work has continued to grow in 2022. If you wonder about that, visit our website. Better yet, follow us on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, even on LinkedIn. You can see a little bit of it there, and certainly on Facebook, to get an idea of what we mean when we say we are increasingly engaging in activities of arts and culture and creating pathways for community members to partake themselves. But I want to take this time to say, you, our Urban League members, you, our Urban League partners, you, our Urban League donors, are the reason it's possible for us to give as we do. I tell my staff from time to time that we're very fortunate, and they agree with me, that we get to do jobs that we would otherwise do for free. On the weekends, when we could find time, around the holidays, whether that's creating food boxes for people or visiting senior citizens to help keep them healthy, visiting the state capitol to advocate on bills that really matter to our community, are all things that we would try to find time to do if we had other professions and other roles. But that's not how this work really gets done. It takes paid and talented and trained professionals day after day coming back to make a difference in community in the way that the Urban League makes the impact. So you, our members, sponsors, supporters, funders, donors, friends, and volunteers, know that we appreciate you. And what many of you wish you could do every day is what we are fortunate enough to do in service of Portland, the metro area, Southwest Washington, and frankly, all of Oregon. Know that when you give your dollars, you're supporting these professionals, these program participants that you've heard from today, to continue to succeed and to thrive and to make this community, this region, something that we all believe it should be. More just, more safe, more healthy, and full of opportunity for all of us who call it home. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I am delighted to be the president of the Urban League of Portland, and I look forward to seeing you not only at our events, but at yours too. We're in the community because this Urban League belongs to you. Thank you.
During the pandemic, there was a break in the normal flow of life. We at the Urban League of Portland are very aware about several of the issues that are surrounding the confidence of potential employees seeking employment in the post-COVID-19 environment. The Urban League of Portland will be hosting its 38th annual Career Connections Jobs Fair. We are offering several workshops that will help hone in your resume, prepare for the types of questions that you might face. Are people hiring? The answer? Absolutely. There will be career opportunities in a variety of industries and areas: engineering, aerospace, parks and recreation, sports. There are amazing companies who cannot wait to work with you. We hope to see you there.
My name is Danetta Monk. I'm the Associate Vice President of Programs here at the Urban League of Portland. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm very excited to be joining, even though I couldn't be there in person, for our annual meeting year 2023. Up until 2023, I was our housing director of programs, and I really got to work in that position in that department for the past 6 years. Year 2020, once the pandemic started, we saw a really big explosion in opportunity for the Urban League to expand programs. That realigned Nikenge's vision and mission for us to expand statewide. So our goal was to first focus on the tri-county areas, Multnomah County, Clackamas County, Washington County, and complete our mission in serving all of Oregon and Southwest Washington. It was a hard time. It was scary. It was the beginning of a pandemic, but a lot of us as employees felt hopeful that we could continue to serve our community. And that led to us really digging deep and communicating with our local constituents, with community members, with government about how they would support us. A lot of that legwork went in at that point to really show and expand our programs. But in this last year of 2022 and 23, we saw the results of that. Our permanent supportive housing programs expanded, our eviction prevention housing programs expanded, and our emergency shelter as well. So this was a year we get to celebrate the grand opening of our Hattie Redmond apartments. Even though that project started in 2019, we got to put in all the work and face the challenges of going from in-person meetings for planning the development and the program into that service to virtual. And that was a big challenge that the staff went through, but it was really nice to see us dig deep and continue to work with our partners and see the project through. So it really meant a lot this year to sit with our permanent supportive housing team, all of our partners in the work, the community advisory committee, which is mixed of participants who've engaged in our services in the past or currently, and celebrate with them the grand opening of our project. It took a lot of technical assistance. We had to do a lot of research. We had to vet our community partners and who we would trust to mentor us through the process of developing or co-developing a project. We experts in service delivery, so that wasn't a challenge at all when we're propositioned to offer culturally specific services. That's not the challenge. But when we think about the construction of the building and what it should look like and how we can stack the funding to make this successful, that's something that we really wanted to have mentorship for. It all just led to this really a lot of excitement, and the grand opening celebrated that. So I'm very excited to be an associate vice president of programs here. I'm excited to watch our programs expand for health and senior services, advocacy and civic engagement, career coaching, and youth and family programs to match the scale of our housing programs. Like, none of this will be possible without the dedication and the commitment of our Urban League employees and their belief in our mission.
This is a person on a mission. Associate Vice President Donetta Monk, we salute you for your dedication to the work. Thank you so much. Next, let's hear about our community outreach. Lauren Smith has more insight.
My name is Lauren Smith. I'm the office associate at Urban League of Portland. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And our community outreach is a team of our housing specialists. And what they mainly do is they go out to the field to meet folks where they are. They'll bring outreach supplies, sleeping bags, tents, hygiene kits, if the weather's cold, gloves, hats, things like that, just to spread the word about the work that Urban League is doing and to help them get connected with services. We try to treat everyone like we would family or friends. At the end of the day, they are why we're here, and it's really about them. When folks walk through the door of Urban League of Portland, they experience compassionate, caring staff that really puts them first, and that is mindful of the traumas that they may have been through prior to coming to us. Unfortunately, not everyone has access to housing, even though they should. That's something that everybody should have. And so we're just trying to do our small part to ensure that as many Black and brown people of our community have access to housing. So if you are looking for help or for service, please call our main office, and we can help get you directed to the appropriate team to get you started with services.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing details of your work with us. Next, we will hear from Pedro Scotto. Pedro is the Senior Programs Manager for Youth and Family at the Urban League of Portland.
Our group consists of several different parts. So first, we have workforce. Our workforce group are folks who help our community to find jobs. We also help them with interviewing skills. We give one-on-one time to folks to do resume workshops and practicing interviewing skills. As far as workforce, there's several things that we're focusing on: construction, technology, and manufacturing. We're also looking at green jobs as well. Some things that we do with the youth, and our programs are not just in school, we do out school programs. So we go to OMSI. We also have the Summer Leadership Academy, and last year, 25 middle schoolers and 25 high schoolers. I came from higher education background, so I'm all into the pre and post surveys, right? So when we did the application, I asked the students, like, what are things you want to do? Camp should be enriching and also fun. We went to Dave & Buster's, we went to the coast, we went ziplining, we went to Black Futures Farm. One program, initially folks were like, I don't know if the kids are gonna like farming. But after the surveys, we found they unanimously said that was the most fun of the summer. I was shocked. Those are some things we've done, and we continue with that. I think we're doing well. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being part of the Urban League. We appreciate you. Good evening.
Thank you, Pedro. I'm happy to hear that the youth are keeping you on your toes. Next, we'll hear from Jennifer Parrish-Taylor, the Director of Advocacy and Public Policy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Parrish-Taylor. I wrote my remarks down because we had a very busy 2022, and I want to make sure I capture all of it. I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Advocacy and Public Policy here at the Urban League of Portland. I actually grew up right here in Northeast Portland, just 10 minutes away from the League, to a mother who was a civil servant and who instilled in me the importance of service and giving back more to my community than I take. I'm honored to lead our team of policy analysts who also serve as our full-time lobbyists in the Salem Capitol, and the team has been busy. In total, the Advocacy and Civic Engagement team held 33 events in 2022. These events fell into several buckets of work, such as our Urban League for All of Us, community conversations, both in person and virtual, civic engagement opportunities regarding the City of Portland and Multnomah County, and virtual candidate forums for voters across Oregon to learn about candidates during both the primary and general elections. We kicked off the year with the launch of our Urban League for All of Us community conversations that took us virtually and in person across the state in places like Salem, the Columbia Gorge, Southern Oregon, Pendleton, and Portland. The purpose of these events was to reconnect with members across the state, many of whom we hadn't seen because of the pandemic, and to hear directly what issues were most pressing to them. We also took time to uplift and honor 15 local community organizations that were putting in the work and whose missions and values aligned with ours. Each event centered on a specific theme, covering issues like migration and climate change, the rise of white nationalism, and the intersections of public safety and the crisis facing our current public defense system. The panel discussions were robust, the questions thoughtful, and the community members actively engaged. We look forward to continuing this work throughout the state. We focus heavily on voter engagement at all levels of government through the 17 virtual Meet the Candidate forums held over the course of both the general and primary elections. We saw prospective candidates running for governor, state representatives, district attorneys, Portland City Commissioner, and judges. And each forum was moderated and co-hosted by local organizations, such as Apano, Central City Concern, and the Muslim Education Trust, just to name a few. Though the League does not endorse any candidate, we still view it as our responsibility to provide venues where voters can hear directly from candidates and candidates can be on the record on issues we know are important to us. We then pivoted to the short legislative session where we tracked close to 20 bills in total, bills that were squarely rooted in racial, gender, and economic justice. Through our efforts, we were successful in passing 8 of them, with many of the bills that were unsuccessful being picked up again in the longer legislative session in 2023. The piece of legislation that I'm proudest of had to be the Equity Investment Act, which allocated funds to provide grants to culturally responsive, community-based organizations that supported entrepreneurship, workforce development, and paths to home and land ownership. During the session, we hosted a virtual Our Voices United Day of Action that spoke to our legislative agenda and trained close to 30 attendees on how to provide testimony and support. Additionally, we supported and worked on several ballot initiatives, most notably Measure 112, removing slavery from the Oregon Constitution, which passed with 55% of the votes. At the city and county levels, the League was busy hosting several events in support of the City of Portland Charter Reform campaign. We hosted community listening sessions and 2 days of canvassing. We engaged community members around Portland to gauge what was and was not working for them when it came to the current structure of city government and how Portlanders vote. You can imagine that our folks had a lot to say. Through the community's efforts, we were successful in passing charter reform and implementing ranked choice voting, something that we haven't had an opportunity to do in over a century. The League was also part of a coalition of community organizations that came together in response to Mayor Wheeler's then proposal for mass encampments of our houseless neighbors to host a town hall where those most impacted would have the opportunity to speak directly to the mayor and Commissioner Ryan on how their plan for the city would affect them. It was a powerful moment to see our work in action and served as a reminder that the advocacy that we are entrusted to do has real life consequences for the most vulnerable in our society. Lastly, our team grew with the addition of Nathaniel Hamlet, our Young Professionals Volunteer Coordinator. Nathaniel has been tasked with launching and collaborating with his peers on our Young Professionals program. This will be an opportunity for young Black professionals to not only network throughout the city, to start, but to get involved civically on the issues you've heard about this evening. As we looked at 2023,
Our goal is to expand community engagement, to offer more opportunities for leadership development, and to double down on policies that safeguards the progress we've made to date, but especially those policies that set our communities up for success. If you ever have questions and want to reach us directly, you can email ace@ulpdx.org, and we look forward to seeing you at one of our programs in the future. Thank you.
Wow, Jennifer, I truly appreciate the work that the ACE team is doing with your leadership and guidance. Go ACE! Up next, we have Justice Rajay, the Executive Director of the Reimagine Oregon project.
Thank you for having me this evening. Accountability is demonstrated by doing the work. And Reimagine Oregon is an accountability project led by Black leaders from across the state, centered on the idea of ending or beginning the ending of systemic racism in Oregon. Now, this was born out of what we all experienced in 2020, the murder of George Floyd, the first wave of our experience in this pandemic, and quite frankly, the insufficient response to the ongoing trauma, hardship, and negative experiences of Black communities, and also the tendency to treat every acute harm that occurs to our communities as something new that no one could have seen coming. And this project said, no. Organizations like the Urban League with the State of Black Oregon, the Coalitions of Community of Color with its different studies on counties in our state and their experiences of communities of colors, and others, said, no, we have policies that folks have already done the work, they've done the data, they've built the community connections, they've brought these things before you, our elected officials, and said, work on this. These are the things that are important. And Reimagine Oregon was born out of making sure that was not lost. Since that time, some of the highlights of things that have come out of that were items like the $62 million set aside in the CARES Act, also the data, which I'll come to later. In addition, over 79 different policy items and demands, engagement of different levels of government from city council members all the way up to the governor and our federal delegations. And I think most importantly, creating the most unique interface between elected officials and community members that I think exists in our country. And no organization in this state would have the standing to support that work, to allow that independent type of project to flourish and exist better than the Urban League of Portland. So thank you to the Urban League and thank you to you.
Executive Director Justice is always so powerful in explaining the value in holding lawmakers, such as myself, accountable to the promises we make to the communities that we serve. Holding our policymakers accountable is vital in Black and Brown communities. Before our Young Professional Volunteer Coordinator, Nathaniel Hamlet, closes out this year's annual meeting, I invite you to think about joining the League to build justice and empower communities. Whether you sign up to become a member, a donor, or a volunteer, please know that the communities we serve appreciate all of your philanthropy. Join us in the capacity that works best for you. Simply visit www.ulpdx.org for more information. As the 2023 virtual annual member meeting comes to a close, let's hear what Young Professional Volunteer Coordinator Nathaniel Hamlet has to say.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Hamlet. I'm the Young Professional Volunteer Coordinator. I've been at the League 6 months, and it's my honor to close out this wondrous event. So what are the Young Professionals? It's a long-standing tradition that exists nationally for the Urban League. It's an auxiliary volunteer group that serves to further the goals of improving the Black community that the Urban League already has, but also to provide fellowship, networking, and other opportunities for young Black professionals in our area, so Portland, Southwest Washington, and the state as a whole. As with many things, the program was affected by COVID, and so it's been my honor to start the endeavor of breathing life back into this program that is particularly important in a city like Portland, where we have people coming for industry in addition to our homegrown Black folk. So I've been with the league 6 months, and across this time, we've had a couple cool events and things that I'm proud of that I'd love to share. So in late December, we had a Young Professionals Mixer at Sugar Hill here in Portland, and it gave the opportunity for 35 or so Black folk to come together, see new faces, old faces, bring the old guard of the young professionals together, in addition to people who are just interested in participating in our program, people who are interested in what the league is doing. We also had a fundraiser for Oregon's youth governor delegate, Ava McAdams, and we were able to raise just under $1,000 for her goal of eliminating racism in schools. As a fifth grader, Ava is an amazing, amazing young woman, and we are glad as the league and as the young professionals in particular to be able to support her endeavors and to catalyze community engagement even at our youngest levels. We've just finalized our steering committee, which we're really excited to introduce at our upcoming open house. A big goal of the Young Professionals program is to be able to bring together our homegrown Portland Black folk, in addition to our transplants who've come for industry or what have you, because together we're unstoppable. This has been a great event, and it's important because together with you, our members, with us, our staff, anyone else out there who's interested in us, we can do anything. And furthering the goal of Black folk, it's why we house people, it's why we advocate, it's why the league is what it is, and why we do the work that we do. So in conclusion, I'd like you guys to check out our socials. Like Nakenge said, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, we're everywhere. But more importantly, engage with us. We're doing events all the time. We're in the community. We're here today. So thank you so much for coming to this event. Again, thank you for everyone who spoke, everyone who's watching. I encourage you to explore acquiring an Urban League membership because it helps support what we do, and we do the best. So thank you very much. Have a great evening.